everybody. My name is Aziz, and I am going to be presenting to you on it was an idea that my friend Jesse from Healing House Energy had that while we were having a conversation about some candles that I make, and in our discussion, Jesse found a few things that I was saying which were interesting, and she said you should share that with others, and that gave birth to this presentation. So to start my presentation, I would like to, I've called it "We Are Made of Star Stuff: Sound, Motion, Light, and a Journey to Meet Yourself." And this is basically a life experience that turned into a candle, a unique story about a unique candle. And it's knowledge, not information. What I mean by that is that these are learnings from a lived experience, knowledge through personal experience versus information that, through readings and schools. And about 10 years back, I was experiencing my life change, and it reflected in what I started doing. I was writing poems, and I called that project Art and Ode. And it turned into a passion where my poems turned into designs, designs turned into songs, and I found a lot of joy in it. Once COVID hit and we couldn't go out, I went inward and contemplated about the world a lot, and I found myself lighting candles and listening to and chanting ancient Sanskrit mantras with my daughter. And it was a transformative experience. And this became like, it was almost like a confluence of two rivers, my art and wood project and the mantras with candle lighting ritual that gave birth to this making candles idea. Now, these amber jars allow me to share my experience with the world in a meaningful and a unique way, and which is a result of a long healing journey, which began with the birth of my daughter, and who was born with a brain injury, and which caused motor and vision impairment. And it was a very intense time for me, and at that time there was this, I felt this concept, the ancient concept of dharma and karma, which I feel is like was very helpful for me in terms of coming to terms with how I found myself at that time. And it's, it's like the, in such battlefields of life, this concept it's the power in this concept which can pull you out of a hole that you a lot of times can find yourself in, and which gave me clarity on like what a father's dharma is, so I could make a decision and follow through with my karma. That is it. That's how simple it is, but it's a very powerful, empowering concept that can take you on any journey with a smile. And today, my daughter and I are like peas in a pod. But at one point, I had, very strong feelings of just, abandoning my child and that kind of thing. But that changed because of just this powerful concept of dharma and karma that once you understand, you can lead, it can change your life in many ways. And that, taking that, going with that, the concept of dharma, and with this father's dharma became my pratigya, which is like almost like it's a Sanskrit term that means pledge, right? And my journey as a dad began to look very different. And instead of like cute pictures of playing, running, jumping child, my phone was filled with photos of techniques and methods, you know, and researching, learning, experimenting, and traveling around for therapies and conferences, courses and books became the new normal. My daughter got a lot of different therapies like conventional OT, PT, speech, cranial, sacral, acupuncture, you name it. She got a lot of uh, those kind of therapies. But there are four of them that I learned a lot from. One is a therapy called Feldenkrais, which is awareness through movement. You learn a lot about movement. You have to internalize movement and experience it on your own. Then one is MNRI, which is awareness of reflexes, which are coded into our DNA, very fundamental reflexes that we are all born with. And integrating those reflexes, there's this method, MNRI, Moscatova method, which is like neurosensory motor integration. Then CME, which is Cuevas medic exercises, which are, about our balance and our relationship to earth and gravity. And CVI, it's a very interesting it's more an approach to teaching and learning with the understanding that every brain processes what the eye sees differently. And these therapy approaches help me heal my daughter and grow personally as well. I learned a lot about human mind, breath, body, thought, sound, speech, sight, movement, balance, and how in a beautiful and complex ways, these integrate as an infant develops capacity to breathe, cry, think, talk, walk, jump, laugh, makes us all, it's a living experience. It's almost like we are just walking, talking, living experience. It's all basically energy, 100% energy, which is highly aware and conscious. It's godlike. That is what I learned from just my entire experience of how of healing my child, along with these different therapies that I started integrating into this practice that I was doing. And for like, like music, massage table, my daughter and me, we spent like countless hours and days and months together, years after year, minutely, patiently affecting nervous system, training, this little child's brain, has been a very priceless, it's been a priceless experience. Uh, and a lot of, you know, she had a lot of spasticity and tightness and stress in her tiny body, and I would take a lot of it in, uh, that energy, and it used to exhaust me every time. Uh, and I would work with her with like, there was a deep sense of pathos and desire to heal this child, and I continued chipping away at it, and often in solitude in my thoughts and emotions. And that experience, there was very profound learning in that experience. One was that I I realized that there is an enormous power in working with complete devotion, attention, and intention. No school can teach you that, only life does. And the second part is empathy. Like in my day to day handling of this girl or working with her on the table, like pressing a point or stroking or holding a body part and moving her a certain way, in certain pace or so and so on. I had always I had to always internalize to myself first to know how exactly she would feel, how I would feel if someone did it to me. So, and then I would first internalize that, and then I would do it, and then I would do it with full attention and intention, which made me very highly sensitized and aware over time, like in other dimensions as well. So, for example, I became very conscious. This kind of sounds kind of little, uh, odd, but I became very conscious about trimming trees and branches and like couldn't not killing insects. I couldn't do that. Then like even sight of a roadkill, no matter how small, it used to have I used to have an intense reaction to that. And like my meat consumption reduced significantly. Like I would just have like fish and chicken, that sort of thing. And sometimes when I would go deep down, working like from like working on fascia to deeper, smaller postural muscles, using movement, sound, breathing. I used to do that. I experienced something very macro, I would cease to exist as a body, but travel in space. And I would like it used to tire me, and I would just have like tears in my eyes. That was experience to me was like almost like me experience non-duality, like how in Advaita Vedanta philosophy, but it's just not philosophy, it's real, you know. And one day I came across somewhere on the internet uh, this image was um, which hit me very profoundly because that is what I was experiencing. And this is like to me is coming close to the Mahavakyas, was like Tattvamasi, which and there's a profound uh, quote in Yajurved which says Yatha Pinde Yatha Brahmande Tatha Pinde, which basically means as is the human body, so is the cosmic body, and as is the cosmic body is the human body, which is an experience that I had on this healing journey with my daughter, which has been very profound, and it has it kind of continues to uh, uh, be with me. And these are like a healer will always be healed, a giver will always a healer will also be healed, giver will also receive. These are like universal laws of life that can't be measured, and you shouldn't even try to do a measurement of how much you give or how much you receive, because you'll be focusing on the wrong stuff. Because for a long time I thought I was healing my daughter and I was sacrificing a lot for this little child, but until I realized how much I was actually getting in return. Mm, like what you know it took a long time, took a while for it to dawn on me that as I was healing, helping her learn to sit, stand, step, walk, so she could be independent in the world, she was helping me unlearn what I was programmed to think, expect to say, and do to fit in the world. So, in a way, we were both actually healing each other. And this realization became, with this realization, the chain that made me feel like tied and restricted since the birth of this child turned me into, tur- I turned that into like a chisel that I started using to shape my life. And and unlearning a program, we are all born to learn. is, unlearning a program we are all born to learn is freedom, few experience in a lifetime, and you know, which is something that is very, it is something that if once you experience that freedom, there is no looking back. Your life changes in ways that in many different ways. And this is a question that a lot of people don't get and don't even ask, right? Healing and fixing are two different things, but it doesn't even the surface many for a lot of people, most people, I would say. So besides the therapeutic work, we did a lot of research and searching and researching for solutions, tried and tested, cutting edge medical science, everything. But the medical world was mostly a disappointment because a lot of it was transaction of services and equipment, which was about fixing my daughter as opposed to a solution that heals, you know. And and since the uh, fixing has its own place, but since medical establishment is a business, it focuses on fixing problems, even though a lot of those problems need healing because a lot of those originate in the brains and minds. And like, for example, my daughter's, she had a in utero brain injury, which made her muscles have low and high tone and spasticity. But the suggested solutions from the experts was like surgery, like hip surgery, eye surgery, all kinds of surgery. Now, fixing a problem in the hip that originates somewhere in the brain, I have, there is a problem understanding that, right? And to me, healing is a journey with that happens with an experience inside, whereas fixing is more of a job that you need an outside expert for it. And healing needs time, whereas fixing needs most times is money. That's why the medical world is about fixing most times. And progressively, I became more and more convinced after going through this whole experience and this whole solutioning and the medical world. I became more and more convinced of a path more ancient and pure, which is Vedic science. Sound and memory, and how they became our best friend. So my daughter's brain injury was significant. While working on movement, reflexes, balance, vision, and everything, sound and memory became uh, were the two faculties that were really untouched in the injury. So they became my gateway to access all parts of her brain. And as time went on, something very fundamental about existence began revealing itself to me. Um, and which was sound causes motion, causing light. And this was a statement I concluded, uh, and and it's very profound in my head. And the way I understand it is that at the root of all, it's sound, motion, and light that basically we are a creation of these three things, not just us humans, but all five elements of nature. This kind of sounds esoteric, but that's where I landed with the whole experience that I've had. And There's a very interesting quote by Nikola Tesla, which says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibrations. And that is all that was, that's the crux of what I concluded through my own lived experience. And uh, and I guess that's why the ancients have always said everything is Om. And sitting in solitude with my thoughts and my daughter, Vedic mantras became an important part of this journey, especially after COVID. And ancient Sanskrit mantras and shlokas have also been passed down to us as sounds, basically, and vibrations, which were memorized for thousands of years before they were written, and then uh, they've come down to us in written form today, but they were for thousands and thousands of years. They were just sounds, vibrations, which were memorized. And these ancient sounds have healing properties, which I have experienced, and and the and what's interesting is that these sounds we have the capability to generate ourselves because of the Sanskrit language. And this brings me to this point where we are a sound making instrument. And this is what I was in our conversation with Jesse. I was talking about how uh, the sound, the sounds, these Sanskrit sounds have a relationship to our physical form. So, for example, our we are like it's like just like a flute, right? We are an instrument, sound making instrument. And the way these consonants, the way when you pronounce these sounds, they all hit certain parts of your instrument. So you have like a guttural, soft palate, hard palate, dental, and labial sound. So if you start from guttural and then you go towards labial, and you start like that, where you say k, k, g, 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 that's guttural. Then you go to soft palate, where you go ch, ch, j, j, y. Then you go to the hard palate with t, th, d, d, n. Then you go to the dental one, which is t, th, d, d, n. And then to the labial, which is p, p, b, p, m. And that's how it's almost like you're playing the flute, right? And these sounds we make and hear affect us deeply within our body and the aura around our body, which uh, you know, we don't think about it, but so much. But if we do a deeper dive into how sound affects us, then this is where we need to be looking at and doing some more research around how uh, sound affects us in ways that we don't even notice. And now, and that brings me to this unique place of Vedic candles that my journey has culminated thus far. It's basically Agni, right? Chanting or listening to mantras around it, around a candle. It's an ancient human science. And with attention and intention behind it, we have the power to manifest. Uh, and like a simple candle ritual, which is something that affects your senses, right? All your senses, like from olfaction to audition, if you're listening to mantras, vision, and taste as well, because gustatory and olfactory systems both work together. And and if you think about it, with the heat that a little candle generates, and if you put your hand over it and you caress yourself, you actually involve tactile senses as well. So it's actually a very powerful way to uh, toward healing if you really think about it. So yeah, this is my snapshot of my learnings and observations, mostly through my lived experience. But I feel compelled to share it with the world, and I do it through my candles. And I kind of feel blessed to experience this little child uh, grow in such a special way. And in doing so, I also feel fortunate that I be able to kind of meet myself in many ways and understand and know what I'm made up of, which is basically star stuff, right? We are all made up of that. So this is it. That's my presentation and how I ended up uh, in these with these unique Vedic mantra candles.